does the U.S. government believe that Russia was behind this bugging and release? And if you are not willing to go that far, are you concerned at all that officials in the Russian government seem to be wanting to to draw attention to this?
Well, certainly we think this is a new low in Russian tradecraft in terms of publicizing, posting. I don't have any other independent details about the origin of the YouTube video. You're right. This is clearly happened overnight and is relatively new. But this is something they've been actively promoting, posting on, tweeting about, and certainly that we feel that represents a new low.
But do you think? What do you mean? Can I follow up, please?
Sure.
What do you mean by this is a new low in Russian tradecraft? Tradecraft is a word typically that refers almost exclusively to espionage activities. Are you saying that you regard this as an act of Russian espionage, that this conversation was recorded and broadcast?
Well, certainly if it was recorded and broadcast, that would be that it would be, violating a private conversation.
But you said this is a new low in Russian tradecraft. That means you think that the Russians, in fact, recorded and made available this
Well,
broadcast.
as I just stated, I don't have any independent or new information on that, but obviously they promoted this and were the first to tweet about it. So that's what I was noting.
That's your suspicion that you didn't. I mean, you said this is a new low in Russian tradecraft. That implies that you believe it is their responsibility.
Well, I think I was pretty clear in answering Matt's question that I don't have any independent information on the origin of the YouTube video, but obviously they were the first ones to post on Twitter about it, which is an indication. But again, I don't know. Okay. I don't have any independent information.
So sorry, can I keep going? Because look, the Russians have repeatedly accused the United States government of interfering in Ukraine's politics. The U.S. government has, to some degree, made reciprocal claims about Russia. Does not the fact that U.S. diplomats purportedly are discussing who should and should not be in a Ukrainian government hint at some possibility of U.S. interference here?
Absolutely not. It should be no surprise that U.S. officials talk about issues around the world. Of course we do. That's what you do. That's what diplomats do, and discuss especially issues where we've been closely engaged. You know, the secretary met with the opposition this weekend. He stopped by a meeting with the foreign minister. It's up to the people of Ukraine, including officials from both sides, to determine the path forward. But it shouldn't be a surprise that there are discussions about events on the ground.
This was more than discussions, though. This was two top U.S. officials that are on the ground discussing a plan that they have to broker a future government and bringing officials from the UN to kind of seal the deal. This is more than the U.S. trying to make suggestions. This is the U.S. midwifing the process.
Well, Elise, you're talking about a private diplomatic conversation. Those happen all the time. Of course, as part of private diplomatic conversations, there are discussions about what involvement the UN can have, what involvement or engagement should happen on the ground. That shouldn't be a surprise. Of course, these things are being discussed. It doesn't change the fact that it's up to the people on the ground. It is up to the people of Ukraine to determine what the path forward is.
But you're clearly trying to influence what they decide. I mean, one of the quotes is, and this is attributed to Ambassador Pyatt, I think you reaching out to him, Klitschko, helps with the personality management among the three, and it gives you also a chance to move fast on all this stuff and put us behind it before they all sit down and he explains why he doesn't like it. That's not, oh, let them figure this out. That's, gee, let's try to do this so that he won't, decide he doesn't like this plan.
Well, Arshad, it's not a secret that we're engaged with what's happening on the ground. I mean, the secretary met with the opposition this weekend. He also met with the foreign minister. As part of those discussions, you engage with what's happening, what recommendations are. They're going to choose to do it or they're not. But that's, of course, what you discuss in any meeting or conversation regardless.
I want to go back to...
The bottom line here is that you do have an opinion about what certain people should, what roles certain people should what role you think is best for certain people to play, correct? I mean, you do have, that is an opinion of the United States. It doesn't mean that you're going to foist that or force it on the people of Ukraine, but you do have an opinion, correct?
Well, Matt, I would caution
Is that
everybody,
correct?
one moment, we're talking about a couple of minutes from a recorded call.
Right.
That doesn't reflect every conversation that's
No.
happened, every debate that's happened, every internal conversation that's happened.
No, you're right, you're absolutely right. But you do have, here is a case where an official, two officials are talking about a preference for what one opposition or several opposition leaders should do, whether they should be in or stay out of the government. Is that not correct? So you do have an opinion about what you think would be best.
Well,
And I'm not sure that that's so.
I'm not,
that's
we have
bad.
opinions about a range of issues.
Okay.
That shouldn't be a
So
surprise.
here's my, so I would just, then, so when you get a question about whether you think it would be good or bad for politician X or Y in country X or Y to run for office, for any office, I don't think that it is honest for you to say, no, we don't have an opinion, and that's completely up to the people of
Well,
country
Matt,
X.
there's a
And I
difference.
specifically mean, in this case, I'm talking about Egypt.
Sure. Well, let me
Because
just,
you
just
do have an
make
opinion.
one comment here. There is a difference between private discussions that happen in the interagency process, in the building, and what we convey publicly as a U.S. government. And we have a responsibility to convey what our position is. Of course, you're discussing a range of options on a range of issues.
But if you-
That's what you do as
But I'm
as
sorry,
a diplomat.
if you're saying privately behind the scenes that you're cooking up a deal, and then you're saying publicly that this is up for Ukrainians to decide, those are two totally different things. I understand that diplomatic discussions are sensitive and you don't want everything to come out, but those are two totally different positions.
Elise, what do you think happens behind closed doors when people are discussing issues internally through
This
the
is not
interagency?
discussing issues. This is talking about a deal that the U.S. was cooking up. With,
I think I would disagree with you. I think you're overstating and over-qualifying a couple of minutes from a privately recorded phone call.
I want to go back to the issue about.
Recorded phone call now?
I'm done, Arshad.
I want to go
Next.
back to the issue of your divergences with Europe and what to do about
Sure.
Ukraine. I mean, obviously, the language that Assistant Secretary Noonan used suggests a fairly high degree of frustration. So, what is behind that? What is it that you want to be done that the Europeans are not falling in line with?
I think I just answered this. I mean, obviously, we work very closely with the EU, and specifically on this issue in recent weeks, as given how much prominence it's received, but how important it is, a priority to us and a priority to the EU. So we've been in close discussions with them. We've been working closely with them. This discussion is about events that happened days and days ago. So just remember that for contextual purposes.
Last week.
Really, days and days ago. I mean, it is days and days ago, I suppose, but it's
Technically,
not like
it's days and
it's
days
not
ago.
like it's ancient history. This
But
is
she
very
says,
recent.
She's